here the amount of ignorant mess we're about to get into right now.
Sit your $5 ass down before I make change.
Hello and welcome to a brand new preview episode for Black on Black Cinema. I'm your host, Jay. I'm here with my co-host, Micah.
Hey.
All right, guys, we're back. This is a preview for episode 122, Detroit. This is the 2017 Catherine Bigelow directed film about the infamous Algiers incident during the Detroit riots in the 1960s. Unfortunately, Terrence is not here for this preview episode, but he most likely will be on for the episode itself. So if you don't know about this story, it's a pretty interesting, I would put in quotes, historical event. Just sort of a microcosm of a moment during the Detroit riots. So do yourself a favor, check out the movie. I believe it's on Amazon Prime, but you can rent it everywhere. Again, it came out this year, last year. So you should be able to find it pretty easily. It's starring John Boyega, Algie Smith, and Will Poulter. So check that out, and we will go in depth on that one next week. Okay, so the random topic this week is all about, obviously, Martin Luther King's birthday just passed. So sort of every year there's this kind of what some people would refer to as the Santa Clausification of Martin Luther King Jr. By like, oh, he was just a warm, fuzzy grandpa, and he was like not offensive to anyone, and everyone loved him, and even he warmed the cockles of old white racist hearts, and everyone stood together. It was really great, except that's not what happened. But I kind of wanted to look back at what his legacy has become and where the world is from what he was trying to accomplish. Like, have we gotten there? Are we on our way? Are we halfway there? Things like that. So Micah, what are your thoughts as far as, like, do you think that his dream has been realized, or at least partially realized?
Not fully realized, certainly not. If I'm being honest, I don't ever think it will be. I mean, it would be foolish of me to say it hasn't at least been partially realized, right? Because we as a people have come a very long way in a short amount of time. In this country, like, this country is only 200 some odd years old,
right?
And we're almost there. Yay!
We can't get out of the third quarter though.
Yeah. This seventh inning stretch is really, really long.
Yeah.
No, man, I don't, and it's the pessimist in me. While I do believe that, people for the most part in general are good, they're not. So it's I think his dream is just that, a dream, and there's no way, at least not in my lifetime, that I predict that that dream will be fully realized, that we will live in the bright universe where no racism exists except for when elves and orcs and centaurs come in, right? That's not going to happen. We're not going to live in that.
It didn't even happen in that.
Right.
Martin couldn't even get his dream done in a fucking fantasy movie.
Right. And when I define his dream as 100% like equality, 100% equality throughout the races and genders, that's never going to happen. It's
right.
never going to happen.
That's an interesting interpretation of it. I always kind of interpret it as, and I'm not saying your interpretation was wrong, by the way. I didn't mean to sound like that. But my interpretation has always been this idea of, like, we get to the point where there is an equal chance of a black kid or a white kid or an Asian kid or, a South Asian or East Asian kid is born in this country, and they are given the same general opportunities to make it to survive, to be given, the same basics. And look, if you achieve higher than someone else, that's fine. But everybody gets to start on an equal on an equal foot, if you will.
I mean,
I always thought that was important. I always thought that in that goal of making it whatever that is for a certain person, however that's defined, that it isn't racism that stops them. Maybe it's their education that stops them. Maybe it is these other things, but it's not racially based. Even even if their education level isn't the greatest, that isn't determined by the fact that they're black and schools are really poor in their neighborhood, right? Like those things are all equal. And I don't think we're there. I think we're actually quite far from it. And I feel like I won't say getting worse. It's certainly not worse than the 1960s. That would be ludicrous to say, or any time before that. I mean, I am very happy to be born when I was born, right? Like I can go to the store, I can do whatever I want, and not really on my day-to-day be harassed about the color of my skin. However, I do think that there is so much further to go. And I think sort of the next wave of that seems to be this sort of connection between race and class, which was something that Martin Luther King talked about, right? And that was right before he was shot. Suddenly when he started talking about financial equality, we're like, this nigga's got to go. So to me, that I think is where it's going, and I think that's where the next part of this fight is.
I agree. Do you think we will get there?
I think it's possible, but I think the reckoning that needs to happen in America will have to be severe.
Yeah, literally, we're going to have the reset button hit on us.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to survive a nuclear winter.
Well, hopefully not an actual one, but
right. But we're gonna have to survive the fallout, and society is gonna have to build itself back up. And even then, a certain type of person has to die off before that happens. And I'm not, that's not code for white people. No, that's not, I'm not Terrence. I don't hate all white people. That is the type of person is generally older, is they're a little more set in their ways. That type of person is the militant type, the Umar Johnsons of the world. They have to die. There's too many factors for me, man, to ever think that something like that is gonna happen.
I also think we've never had, and this is not we're not talking about a violent rhetoric that's not
no.
But maybe but
I mean, it's the fastest way.
But no, in all seriousness, I think the larger point is we never had France had the French Revolution, where it was you had these basically royalty and oligarch sort of ideals running things, and they were just we're just getting paid, we're living it up, people are starving in the streets, we don't really give a shit about them. And then they had the French Revolution, where people just were like, oh, really? This is what's happening? Cool, we're going to pull you out of your houses and cut your heads off and show you we're not fucking around. Now, I'm not suggesting that, obviously. But because America's never had its own sort of internal revolution or reckoning, we have just built a society on top of shit. Okay, cool, slavery, all right, we're gonna get rid of it, but still keep some of the institutions of it. So we're just gonna put a nice layer of icing over that shit cake, and then just keep moving on. And then when we hit something else, civil rights movement, stuff like that, we put a layer of icing over it, and then we're just stacking up the cake. We never destroyed the cake and started over. And that's what the French Revolution was. They were just fuck this entire system, and now they don't have the inherent problems that they used to have, because Like people in charge are like, nah, I remember that shit. Like I read about it at school. Like don't do that. Because like the French will be like, we will burn this shit to the ground. Like we're not fucking around. And America's never had that. And maybe that doesn't need to happen as far as like a violence sort of thing. And I don't think it does, but it needs to be a system that is in an utter collapse. And then a new system needs to rise out of that. And we've never had that. And the guy who's president might help us get there. I hate to say that. Like it feels like, I'm like, this shit is just going to blow up, right? Like completely. And then out of the ashes, maybe we'll be able to rebuild the country. And I don't want to be around for that shit because it's not going to be good. A lot of people are going to starve. A lot of people are going to die. A lot of people are going to be put into situations they don't want to be put into.
Oh, it's going to be violent. Let Donald Trump get impeached, or
you think so?
Oh yeah, I do. And like
I don't necessarily disagree with you. I'm just trying to listen to your thoughts.
Like if people say, well, he shouldn't be the president, Hillary should be given the presidency because she won the popular vote and he cheated. Yo, I wouldn't want it if I was Hillary at that point.
No, you don't want that.
Because
they're trying to kill you. Are you fucking crazy?
Exactly. Like you're gonna have to roll around in a Pope mobile just to take a piss.
Nah, that's not it. Look, they say dress for the job you want. Don't dress for that job.
Right. And I think that as much as I hate Donald Trump as being president, just because because of his ideas, first and foremost, but a strong second is just that he's a dullard, and a strong third is that he's a man baby. He like if he gets taken, I'm willing to ride out these 4 years if it means that we won't have like another civil war.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. Like
because and like that sounds hyperbolic, but like people are crazy nowadays. Like we are getting dumber as a society, and people are getting incredibly bold, and I feel like with the election of Barack Obama, a certain type of person it started to grind their gears, right?
Yeah.
And now with the election of Donald Trump, they're like, yo, well, this shit is getting ready to get off the rails now. Like we can do whatever we want. And it's not like the Cold War that's secretly brewing between all of the races is getting heated up every day that he's in office.
Yeah, I am not one of the people who subscribes to the idea of like an impending race war. I don't like. No, I
hope not, because we would lose.
Oh, probably. Like there's simply not enough of us. Now, however, we would probably have to team up with Latino folks and other minorities, and then that's anybody's game.
Right. And then the Asians will just be in the cut waiting for the whites and the blacks and the browns to destroy each other. And then they will have New Asia, and then the Japanese Americans and the Chinese Americans will get along, and they'll blow each other up. And then the Western Hemisphere will be dead as we know it. And then Mexico will come up and be like, yay, we got our fucking shit back.
Finally. Now we're never building that wall, and we're definitely not paying for it. Like, wow.
Right.
Yeah, look, man, I do think I think Martin's idea for what he saw America to be in the future, whether he would be around to see it or not, which I'm sure he kind of realized he wouldn't be, unfortunately. It's a beautiful idea, like it really is, and I think that's why he sort of stands the test of time as a person in American history and in world history, because it is a truly beautiful idea that like, and it's not a crazy idea that little black kids and little white kids can just sit down together and like shit be cool. Like that's it. Yeah. And we still haven't gotten there yet. In some parts of the country we have. I mean, I would argue the coasts have kind of figured it out. Like that doesn't mean they don't have trouble. I mean, they certainly do. New York is a super segregated city, but there are parts of that city that aren't. And it's really cool to see. Like we live in, I live in Baltimore. There's plenty of places where You know, the races are very much intertwined, and there's other parts of Baltimore that are very much not. So, we're not there, but it is a beautiful idea. But I want to talk about like this idea of modern conservatives loving Martin Luther King Jr., but being 100% against everything that he stands for on the other 364.25 days of the year. I find that
You're not even going to give them all of MLK Day?
No. Because they're sleeping. I mean, there's like on the toilet, and they're just like, niggers, you know. But you know, it's one of those things I find to be incredibly fascinating. Like, do you think, or actually, I won't. That's a rhetorical question. Dan Rather wrote this post yesterday, that basically said that these conservatives who are like out there like, oh, Martin Luther King is so great, I loved him, I loved all his albums, like they were all hot, like they would not have supported him had he lived. Like if he was alive
if
today,
he was still alive right now, he'd be quoted along with the race baiters, Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson. Like they would drag that old slur out of the woodwork. You know what I mean? And yeah, you're right. It is hilarious because you're taught in school that you're not supposed to speak ill of his ideas. Why would you? Right?
Yeah, the only people who are speaking ill of his ideas are racist. Like
right. Right. And being called a racist is the white equivalent of being called a nigger.
Yes.
So no one wants that, right? But you're right. Like, one, he wouldn't put up more. I gotta believe Martin Luther King wouldn't put up with the nonsense that's going on. Like he would be further and further on the if there's a spectrum of Malcolm and Martin, he would be inching closer and closer to the Malcolm side.
Oh, without a doubt. Like,
yeah,
I think if he had lived, I mean, him and Jesse Jackson were like right around the same age, so he would still be around, right? Like he would be a coherent and amazing voice still living today, which would be so bizarre to think about. But he would, you know, like this idea of him just being like against the Vietnam War, the Gulf War, or the war in Iraq, the war in Afghanistan. Like, I just imagine, you know, people, you know, conservatives gave Barack Obama that hard time with the Reverend Wright speech. Remember that? Because he was like, the chickens have come home to roost. Mm-hmm. Like, but if you watch that whole speech, and I did, I was like, are they trying to throw this black man under the bus? Seems like some shady shit. Listen to what this preacher's got to say. It's like a 45-minute speech or a sermon or whatever they call it. I don't know, church or synagogue. I don't know. But he was right. Like the Reverend Wright speech, like if you actually listen to it, he was 100% right. Like that would be Martin Luther King Jr. being like, yeah, this shit is happening to us because we're bombing the shit out of other countries. Like, we pretend like that shit's not true?
Right.
Yeah, and they would destroy him over it. But yeah, I mean, conservatives are really funny in that regard. Like, you don't really support Martin Luther King Jr.'s message of equality. You certainly don't support his message of like helping poor people reach financial equality. That is not true at all. Right. But yeah, like these same people will turn around tomorrow and, you know,
be like, let's not politicize MLK Day. Like, that's what it was about, dude. Like, that's what his whole thing was about.
Right.
What do you think race relations are?
Yeah. Well, shit, the president didn't even do like normally presidents do like a day of service, a public day of service, and on Martin Luther King Day, right? And Trump golfed. Didn't say anything. They put out like a standard White House statement, and he just golfed. And they asked the press secretary, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, today. They were like, "The fuck? Like, what is that?" And she said, and that, no bullshit. Oh, he did a thing on Friday.
A
Bitch,
thing
Martin
on
Luther King Jr.
Friday.
Day was Monday.
Right.
Oh, he got busy. Sorry.
Yeah,
He got it in before his golf trip.
He picked up some milk on Friday. What?
Yeah,
Like, no, not MILK, MLK.
Oh, right. Sorry. Yeah, it's just to me that is hilarious. Like you don't really give a shit, and it just proves that the president is. I mean,
Oh, the
I think this
president's a
week
racist, yo.
more,
Like, of course,
more than a little that the president is a absolute racist.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know, man. It's I don't know if I think Martin's legacy is important. I often hear some people say, "Oh, things haven't gotten better since his time." I think
that is
ludicrous.
stupid.
Yeah, I mean that I heard that repeated a lot of times by people. Like when we were in the real height of like a bunch of shootings of black people. And look, it felt like it was just horrible. It was horrible, right? It still is horrible. But like, come on, man. I need us to take a look at reality and not go crazy because no, it's not worse than it was. Trust me, it couldn't be. It couldn't
and I'm gonna need us to not distort us as a community to not distort King's message of equality with with your message, your want of role reversal.
Yeah, supremacy.
Yeah, like that's not what he wanted either.
Yeah, that is a weird phenomenon in our community. Like
I don't think it's weird at all. I think it's human nature.
Actually, you know what? You're not wrong. No, it is when I say weird, what I mean is like we know like we're fighting literally like saying it out of our mouths that we are fighting white supremacy. And then some black people, not all, and I don't even think most, but some rather loud voices are like, cool. Now when we're in charge, you're like, wait, what? Like, nah, dude, like that's not how the system is gonna work if you are really trying to progress. You have to destroy the system and make it equal for everybody. Like that's the point. It's not the point.
Whereas they're like, no, eye for an eye. Now we get 400 years of supremacy,
like,
and then we'll be even. Like,
I don't think that's how this system's gonna work. Like,
grow up, nigga.
Right. I mean, like, but I hear people say shit like that all the time. Well,
yeah,
we should be in charge of blah 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 blah. I'm like, so you want to replace white supremacy with black supremacy? I mean, look, I get it. I'm really excited for Black Panther 2, but just calm down. Like, just calm down.
Right. People think we are going to be Wakanda if black people in charge. Motherfucker, you people don't even support black businesses now.
Yeah. I can name like 9 black movies. Ain't nobody see.
Right.
So yeah, like this idea of exchanging one level of supremacy for another. I'm not interested in that. And I've gotten into what I would put in quotes as trouble because I'm like, yeah, that doesn't sound like actual equality. Like equality is hard, right? Like it is hard to say, hey, why don't we have these things? Why don't we give 50% of it to somebody else so that everybody is equal? Like that's a difficult concept for people to understand. And it becomes even more difficult when you have been the part of the minority group that hasn't gotten that 50% from another group. So I understand where it comes from, but if you're trying to progress, it doesn't really make sense to try to let me just destroy these people so then we can be in charge. Like, what are we, a bunch of European countries in like the 1400s? Like, come on, like we're better than that. We should be better than that.
We should be, but
we're not.
Yeah, we're not. We're all humans, man. Like that's like that goes to that hippie argument of I don't see color. We're all the human race, man. Like
fuck off.
Like while I hate that argument. I hate it with a passion.
Well, it's an oversimplification.
Right. But I understand where it comes from because like it's human nature. If roles were reversed, we wouldn't be the benefactors. We wouldn't do it. Like we would do what
they did.
What they do.
Yeah. Like I'm always amazed by that. Like if black people were in, if the roles were reversed, it'd be totally different. No, it wouldn't be. Are you
Right.
serious?
Well, if a woman were in charge,
Totally different. No, it
it
won't.
wouldn't be. It wouldn't be totally different.
No, it might have some differences. Like,
Right.
but come on, man. Like, if you really think the world would be vastly different in every way if women were in charge since the beginning of time, no, because absolute power corrupts absolutely. Like, that's
Right.
that. I hate to talk in fucking memes and turns of phrase, but that part is fucking true. Like, no, they you might get a little bit more compassion from certain things, and healthcare might be a little different, but at the end of the day, they start in just as many wars as we are. Like, they're gonna kick the shit out of each other. They're gonna do dumb nonsense just like we do.
And before anyone says it, no, we are not saying that if Hillary won, the world would be like it is right now.
I am saying that. No, individuals are very different than a large swath of 3.5 billion people.
Right.
Yeah, no.
Right, but
everyone knows that Hillary would have bombed North Korea
somebody's
on
going
day
to
one because she's evil. Everyone knows.
Right, but someone was going to make that argument.
Yeah, no, that's a stupid argument. Don't make that argument.
You shut that shit down right now, man.
Yeah,
Like, that's not what we're talking about.
Yeah, we're not talking about individuals.
Pay attention. I don't want this motherfucker in charge of America just as much as you don't.
Trust me. Anyone else. Except for a celebrity. I have a real problem with that. But any reasonable politician would be fine, including Hillary. Would have been totally fine.
Look, any reasonable mammal, if they have the experience.
Yeah. Like a manatee, right? Like, I'm a sea cow. I'm the president. Like, that's fine. Whatever, dude. Here's some seaweed, dude. Just calm down. He's like, I'm 298. Like, no, you're not. You're fatter than that. Actually, yeah. I mean, I guess we do have a fucking manatee as president right now. Dumb fat blob. Doesn't know anything. Sleeps a lot. All right. I think that is it for us for this week. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, surviving one more year. Dan Rather said something I thought was really fucking terrifying. He was like, I'm not sure this holiday is going to last in America. I was like, wow, that's fucked up. And I don't know that he's
wrong. That is fucked up. I mean, I hope it doesn't, but I hope what he said doesn't come to fruition like it. And I try not to think like that. Like, oh, that's a bit hyperbolic, don't you think? But at the same time, like, anything is possible now.
Yeah, we have a manatee for president.
Yeah. We have a 2,700-pound manatee as president.
Yeah, but he's not that. He weighs more than that. We've seen him play tennis. Get out of here. All right, that is it for us. We will be back next week with episode 122, Detroit. So should be fun and interesting. A lot of controversy around this episode. So who knows? All right, later, guys.
See you.
We out.